Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, where we focus on how authors found success, looking at strategies that have taken them to the top of the bestseller charts, as well as what they've learned from their mistakes. Because being an indie author is more than knowing the latest marketing trend. It's about being innovative and creative and learning from your mistakes.
Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jamie Albright. And this week on the show, we have
Magan Vernon.
Yes, this is a really good episode.
Yes, it is. We talked about self-doubt and criticism and starting over after a bad experience. And she has a community. Talk a little bit about that, the Mojo Dojo Casa House, which is just fun to say. And she's done some ghostwriting. So we kind of hit on all those topics. It was really good.
Yeah, it was good. And, she had to come back from something pretty big. And, it was good. It was really good. And I think you guys will get a lot out of it. We should also say that our sponsor this week is Zero Accounting, and we really appreciate them. And thank you.
Yep. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Writing updates. I'm back from, well, not writing, but a writing related thing. I'm back from a library event in Wiley, Texas. That's in pretty close to Dallas, and it was just so well done. It was so fun. It was they have a theme for the summer for all their programs. And so this was just one program, but their theme for the summer is only murders in the library.
Oh,
and so everything is mystery related. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. So it was a panel with me and two authors that were Zoomed in, and then three other authors that were there in person. And we all brought books. The Friends of the Library sold them for us. Like they had a little markup so that they could make some money on the sales.
Right.
And then we signed books afterwards. And it was really fun. We did a tour of the library. They have all this. They had like little, like the images that are the tape marks of like a body that's dead, So they had a couple of those around the library. And then they had all kinds of like displays about books and mysteries and like every kind of book. They had different genre recommendations. It's just, if you live in Wiley, you're very, very lucky to have such a good library. So that was fun. Met some readers and met some other authors, and it was just great. I don't do a whole lot of in-person stuff, but that was like a good experience.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. And it was really funny. We had questions, and people, mostly were interested in like writing our books, questions related to our books. But the question about AI did come up about like, are we worried about it? And I said, well, AI is not yet doing library events, so I think we're okay for now.
Yes, exactly. Stay neutral.
So in-person events, they're not doing that. So we can show that we're a real person if we go do stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what about you? What's going on with you?
Well, pardon me. I've been sick and teaching swimming lessons. So still doing that, y'all. I don't know. Present Jamie always really hates past Jamie. I mean,
it's past Jamie is ambitious, huh?
Yeah, it's been a theme. And but I'm almost done. I'm starting my last 2-week session of swimming lessons today, and I will be done. I have been not really doing much of anything other than that. I'm really ambitious, and I started off really good, when I started this whole thing, working in the mornings and stuff. And now I'm just like, she ain't as young as she used to be.
You're tired, huh?
Yeah, I'm tired. My brain's kind of mush, but, and I'm a little aimless, I'm ready to get home. I'm ready to get back to my routine and back to doing some writing in the mornings or during the day, anytime, but just anything. But, and trying to think if there's anything. Oh, I will say I'm pretty disappointed in this, but I've just put it out there so that people know. I was asked to put Running from a Rockstar in prime reading, which is my best book. I mean, it's the one that I can't say it's my best, but I have the most read through for it, and
it's first in series and everything.
It's first in series. It's very hooky, all the things. and I was asked to put it in prom reading, and I haven't done that in a very, very long time, but I did, and I'm really disappointed that I did. It's
Oh,
really it's not been done well. And
mm,
I had some really good momentum from the
hmm.
release and everything.
Has that kind of slowed it down?
Yeah, it has. And it'd be one thing if it was just income, but it's not just income, it's rank two. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I wish I hadn't done it, but what's done is done. And I know
Hmm.
now, and other
Hmm.
people may, your
Yeah.
experience may vary,
Hmm.
but for me, this did not work out as well as I'd hoped it would. Um, but it's okay. What I've learned in this business is there's very little that's insurmountable. So
Hmm.
you can, when it comes out, I'll just work on getting the rank back up. And um, I'm not at this moment spending any money on ads, but I'm going to start some new ads.
Yeah.
Not, I'm running a couple of ads I was running a couple of ads to a couple of other books in that series to just kind of hopefully
Hmm.
get some recognition back on it and stuff.
Hmm.
And they were doing well and then they stopped. So, you never know
Mm.
why.
So
But
how long is it in for? Is it a month?
I think it's a month. Yeah, it's a month.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's just not doing what I'd hoped it would. And, I don't know if that says something about me or the program. Who
Yeah,
knows?
it's really hard to tell. You don't really
It's hard to
know,
tell. It's
but
hard to
like
tell.
you
Yeah.
tried it and you just got to move on and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a data point. We're
Yeah.
failing faster, you and
Right.
I.
I'm failing faster.
So
And
that's a data point, and something to
yeah.
learn from. I'm sorry that it
Yeah.
didn't
I
work
mean,
out. That's kind of a
again,
bummer.
there's just nothing that's so insurmountable you can't come back from.
Right.
And I, you know, I'm doing that.
That's just the way it is sometimes. Yeah.
I guess that's really all writing related that I have.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. It's kind of, this is like the season of travel. I feel like we've been out of town 3 times, like in the last like 2 or 3
Yeah, we're
weeks,
going
and
out
it's
of
just
town
a
again.
lot
Yeah.
of back and forth. So I'm sure we'll all be glad to kind of get settled and back
Yeah.
into like writing mode. But
Yeah.
we do have one other thing to mention about writing.
Yeah.
The InkersCon digital conference is July 20th through August 2nd, and that's like recorded classes and live sessions, and you have access to the content for 6 years. And we have 2 affiliate links for that. So if you're interested in that, you can get a discount by using the code Sarah24 or Jamie24, and we'll have those links in the show notes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just can't say it. I mean, we talked about it last week, but I cannot say enough good things about it.
Yep. So highly recommend that. And we do have a new supporter this week. We have Diana Galindo. So
Yes.
thanks, Diana. We appreciate it. And
Yes. We met her at Anchors.
yes, and she did the little cone, the little celebration cone emoji. I don't know what that's called, but it's cute.
Party hat. I don't
Party
know what
hat
it
maybe.
is. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
we met Dinah. We've met her the last couple of years and it was great
Hmm.
talking to her again. And yeah,
Yeah. So
we're
thanks to
thank
all
you
our
so much. Yeah.
supporters and the continuing supporters. We really appreciate you guys. If you've received value from the podcast and want to support us, then you can support us through the link in the show notes, and you'll get access to previous supporter episodes and the Slack group.
Yeah.
And we also have a text message. You can send us a message. We have one from Chesapeake, Virginia. You want to read that one, Jamie?
Yeah, it says Stephanie's episode about skeleton drafting was so helpful. And I agree. I mean, I re-listened to part of that episode and I had forgotten how really
Mm-hmm.
great I mean, I knew it was good, but
Mm-hmm.
that in combination with hearing her at Inkers talk
Mm-hmm.
about it just such a good thing. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just such a good episode and so
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, it's
And
a
she's
different way to
so,
think about
yeah,
drafting and writing.
right.
And yeah, I need
She's
all
such
the
a
help I
great
can get.
teacher too. She just really,
Yes.
I don't know, the way she explains things to me is
Mm-hmm.
really understandable. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah. So, and if you want to send us a text, there should be a link in the show notes and you
Yes.
can send that to us. We'd love to hear from you. And we have a corporate sponsor for our podcast today as well. That's Xero Accounting. It's accounting software made for small businesses like indie authors. With Xero, you have everything in one place. You can store documents, capture expenses and receipts via email, scan files from your mobile, and more. Via Xero's robust integrations, you can connect Xero to your bank account to easily sync financial information, as well as have access to more than 1,000 apps via its app store. There are different plans to suit your business, and all pricing plans cover the accounting essentials with room to grow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
tongue twister there at the end. But yeah, I've used it. I love it. It's really easy to use. I had to go in just the other day and do all my reconciling, and it's just so fast. It remembers what you've done before in the past and just makes it really easy. It imports transactions, and they had an onboarding call, which I really liked, which was helpful to talk to an actual person to get everything set up correctly. And it's just a great accounting solution. So you can use discount code Wish I'd Known Then 20 and get 20% off the Xero subscription for 3 months. And the link will be in the show notes.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we should probably get on with the episode because it's really amazing and encouraging. I think it's an encouraging episode for the day.
Yes, it is. All right. So here is Magan. Okay. Today we were really excited to talk with Magan Vernon. Hi, Magan. How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We are great, and we're glad you're here.
So let me read your bio and we'll get started. Magan Vernon is the author of more than 40 romance novels. When not writing, you can usually find her posting pictures of her pets online.
Yes, you post pictures of your pets. I just scream at mine. So there you go. So tell us how you got into writing.
So I think like every story starts, the kid who was always reading and writing stories. But my story of writing for publication is a funny one. I was working full time at the time, and I was working in insurance, and I was actually studying for my insurance exams, which are the most boring things in the world. And I went on a trip and I took my insurance books and I'm like, we've got this long car ride. I'm going to study. But then I had a dream that night, and I had a dream about this girl dancing, and the guy was watching her and he was very upset with her, and I had to know why. So the next day in the car ride home, I started writing the story and didn't stop and failed my insurance exam. So that was
So it was a sign.
Oh, that's classic. I love it. I love it. That's great.
Well, what is your definition of success?
So my definition of success, I really had to think about this one. Like I was telling ladies, I listen to this podcast every week and I think, oh, I like their definition. So my definition is leveling up.
Yeah.
I think, for anyone, it could just be, if you're staying the same, you're not successful. But even if it's, finishing a book or getting published or doing whatever the next thing is, I think that's success.
Right. That's a great answer. I don't know that we've had that answer kind of phrased that way. That's really a great answer. Well, what do you wish you'd known about writing and craft when you started, as opposed to insurance?
So insurance exam. So I started writing for publication in 2009. And back then, everyone told you, don't work on the next book in the series. You start something different. So by the time I was actually published, I think I had 5 first books in a series done. And I wish instead I would have focused on getting that one series or, the one book really polished and done and focusing on that.
Yeah. Wonder why that was the advice of the day.
I think because back then we had to query for agents. So if an agent one book, it's like, all right, maybe they'll like this one.
So a lot of people ended up with just kind of starts, but no complete series or a book or two, and then just abandoned it and stuck it in a drawer because nobody wanted it until indie publishing came along. And then we found out that, the audience is not quite what New York thought. Yeah. Well, what about marketing? What do you wish you'd known about marketing?
So one of the big things, I was afraid to do ads, and I was like, I don't need to do ads. It sounds terrible saying it out loud. But I actually paid for all the classes too and never did it. And I was like, I'm just going to spend more time on social media, which was hours of social media time trying to sell myself.
Mhm.
I didn't really learn ads until this last like 6 months, a year. I said, oh, this is the greatest thing. If you can really learn ads, you could spend less time on social media or less time even working on the ads, and they can work for you.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome when they're working. When they're working. So, do you mostly do Facebook or Amazon?
I do Facebook ads. I actually took Matthew Holmes' class.
Yeah.
He has a very simple way of doing it, which was way easier for me to learn it. So I've been doing those past year. No, and it's really helped my sales and kind of also helped my, you know, not scarediness, but being afraid to be on social media all the time. Like, oh, I can't about being on.
Yeah.
So it takes the pressure off a little bit to
Yes.
constantly post.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
What assumptions did you make at the beginning of your writing career, and looking back, did they turn out to be right or wrong?
Oh, I made a lot of assumptions. I just thought that books would sell. Obviously, they do. I think, I thought they'd sell. I thought it'd be a lot easier to meet other authors and get word of mouth and bloggers selling. And I'm not saying there's gatekeepers, but I think you actually have to make genuine connections with people. You can't just go to sell. And I think the longer I've been in the business, the more I've made genuine connections. And I think that has helped me instead of thinking everyone's competition. We're all together, as they say in High School Musical.
Yeah. To quote a classic. My grandchildren have been obsessed with all the High School Musicals, but primarily the third one. But we've watched the first one a lot too. So yeah, I was up there for a week, and by the time we were done, like, I knew all the songs. I was hating myself because I knew all the songs. It was like a whole thing. So
You could quote them.
I could quote
all.
them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what do you think has been the most important lesson you've learned?
I think the most important thing I've learned is just not doubt yourself. Or we get into a lot of imposter syndrome, which, to quote Becca Syme, imposters don't have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And
So true.
I think the biggest setback for any author, anyone in any career, is doubting ourselves. Sometimes gotta, to quote another Disney movie, say Silencio Bruno and quiet the side and just do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm one of those people that I like confirmation. If I'm going to do something, I like confirmation that that is the right choice. That's the right path. And a lot of times you can't get that because nobody else knows your situation exactly. Hardly anyone's in exactly the same place you are as far as like what you're doing in your business. And sometimes you just have to make that choice and go with it and just not worry about making the wrong choice,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been very guilty of running it up the flagpole and seeing if anybody salutes, and asking tons of people their opinions. And I think it's because I think it's a good idea and I want other people to tell me that. I want confirmation, but which is very narcissistic. But this time, as I'm going through, I'm not really, I'm just doing the things I think I'm supposed to do, and I've told people what I'm going to do, but I haven't asked their opinion. So I think that helps. It helps because once you have one person say, I don't know if I do that, then you go, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, and then you doubt yourself. And
you start second guessing things. Yeah.
How do you combat that?
Oh, cry, but
after that's assumed. Yeah.
I have to step away a lot of times. And I have to just get out of my own head. Sometimes, a big thing I've also found with the self-doubt is when I first started in the career, everyone tells you need to write every day. You need to do these. And when I couldn't do it, I was like, oh no, I'm a failure. And it was something my husband actually said to me. Don't tell him I'm giving him credit for things.
We'll keep it quiet.
He goes, if you're rocking something or doing it, just keep doing it. You spend all day Monday writing and then Tuesday you do nothing but binge watch TVs. Like you know, that creative break sometimes, just doing it your own way and just so follow it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That's really great. Yeah.
All of our husbands need to follow that advice. Just binge watch whenever you feel the need.
So would you say that's the biggest change you've made in your thinking, or is there something else?
I think it's been a rough couple of years, specifically since 2000, for multiple reasons. But I think that has been the big thing is I finally giving myself grace to say, okay, I can't write today. Or I'm going to be able to write a bunch of stuff instead of putting all the pressure on myself. Like nobody's sitting there and saying, Megan, you have to get it done right now. I mean, my editors who I've booked and stuff, but I think, trying to take the pressure off myself has really made a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
We're very hard on ourselves. I mean, a lot of times, like a boss at an office would be nicer than we are to ourselves. They would say, you're sick, go back to bed and sleep. And we're like, no, I must soldier on. So, well, if you were starting over today, what would you do differently?
If I were starting over today, one of the big things, I said I had 5 different series starting. I think I would have finished writing the series or the books to get those out. I think it takes me a lot longer to write books now too than before kids and everything else. I really think I would have started the books, finished that before I focused on anything else, marketing, getting agents or publishing. I wish I would have just got to be PG with this, write the dang book.
Yeah. Get it down on paper. That's very important.
Yeah. I think that's good advice. Good advice. Yeah, the only thing, the thing about writing a full series before you publish is what if the series is, you spend all this time writing the series and then it doesn't do well. But my thinking, that's the argument you hear, but my thinking is, well, if you have a series out there, it might not have done well on launch, but in a year, that series might all of a sudden be very popular, and so it's a backlist, it's part of a backlist. So I think it's great. Well, you mentioned 2020. So as much as you can and as much as you feel comfortable with, tell us kind of what happened. So you were rolling along, doing great, doing your thing, and then 2020 hit, and then tell us what happened and kind of how you came out of it.
So 2020, I was at a really good point in my career. I had a traditional deal. I was working on that. COVID hit, and the world shut down. And I've been with my husband 16 years, and my grandparents died right before we got together. So his grandparents became my grandparents, and his grandpa died early 2020 or mid 2020. So we were dealing with that, and we were on a hike. And my phone kept going off. So finally I answered my agent and I'm like, what's going on? She goes, have you been on Twitter today? And I said, no. And she goes, well, don't go on it. I said, well, don't threaten me with a good time. And I had multiple messages so an author had found one of my older books, which is called The Only Exception. And it is actually, it was written in 2012 during the Romney-Obama election. And there's an episode of New Girl where Schmidt pretends to be Romney's son. So I thought, what if the conservative governor's son lived next door to this like really liberal girl? And then I also put in my own experiences of being violated in college. And it was a very personal book. It was it was one of my best books to date. But this author found it in 2020, it wasn't a good political climate, and decided to blast me on the internet and say I was the worst person for writing this book. And other authors and bloggers decided that she was right, even making some false assumptions like of my name and other things. And, I could have set the record straight. I could have done something, but it put me into a really bad depression.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't write for myself till this year. I took up ghostwriting, but I just, that's where I ended up getting off social media for a while. And it was really hurtful. I haven't started talking about it till recently, even, because I was afraid of the backlash of it. And some people who didn't approach me and say, hey, this doesn't seem like you. So that was my 2020, and I'm finally coming out of it.
Wow, that is so hard. Now, had they read the books and then they were blasting, or had they not read them? And
They had the book, they read the description, which now the description actually says on it, this book was written in 2012 and based on Schmidt's episode in New Girl. But, that was my book that was selling very well, too. And I was like, well, my sales just dropped dramatically. Also, want to keep doing this? Like, it was just a very dark point.
And it sounds like you kind of retreated for a little bit. Is that basically how you handled it in the beginning? Just kind of breaking off and kind of going away?
I did. I was very depressed. I was like, and I couldn't believe how many people who I thought were my friends, I guess acquaintances online, how many unfollowed me after that. All my socials dropped. It was a very dark time. And it's taken me 4 years to come out of it.
God bless you. That just seems like that's so hard, because you knew they weren't right. And yet really to say anything would have only probably made it worse. I mean, that's hard. It's such a hard place to be.
I figured anything I would say, I think would have just backfired. And I didn't know. I mean, what do you say to that? And but there were people who knew me, who came and they're like, we know this book, we know your story behind it. And like if you like read the note in that book, and I've done some other books, I was raped, sexual assaulted in college, and this was kind of, the politics of that, but also being able to overcome that, which took me that many years to overcome it, and then to have it slapped in and was
back up again. Yeah.
It's just like victimizing you twice. That's horrible. Well, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently? Or have you even gotten to that place yet?
I wish that I would have, I wish I wouldn't have let it get to me so bad. I wish I would have soldiered on. I wish I would have kept writing under this name. I wish I would have been able to, looking back, I'm like, I wasn't in the mindset, but I wish I could have been. Or at least told the more people, been like, hey, this is what's happening. I need a hype team. I need, I kind of like even went away from my hype team, my people, retreated myself, when instead of doing that, I wish I would have reached out more.
Yeah. We just need people. We need people. So you are writing under a different name, though, for that book, correct?
No, that was under Megan Vernon.
Oh, it was under Megan Vernon. Okay. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. That is just, I'm so sorry. But, I mean, stuff like that happens, especially now, even more now, I think. And I think it's important that we all kind of think about that. Like, you do need those people around you. Retreating isn't always the best option, even though it feels like the safest option. It's not always the best option. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned ghost. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's so many people that reached out, afterwards, like, I didn't know this happened to you. Why didn't you tell us? Well, I did. I retreated myself, and it's going to your next question about ghostwriting. So I was like, well, I can't write for myself. And I actually got an email that a company was hiring ghostwriters for, at first it was just the spicy scenes of books. And I was like, I can't write anything else right now. Why don't I just do this?
So that's how you got started in ghostwriting?
That is how I got started in ghostwriting. Went from just the spicy scenes to full books. And now I'm back to just doing the spicy scenes.
That's amazing, though.
Well, talk to us a little bit about ghostwriting, because I think some people are curious about that. Like, how do you work with authors when you're ghostwriting?
Mm-hmm.
So I originally started through a company where it was anonymous. So they would send me there to be a fully formed outline that they would have, and then I wouldn't know who the author was, and they'd send it to me, and I would just write the book from the outline, which after being blasted on social media was so freeing to just be able to write the book and not have to worry what everyone else thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then after going through the company, I started having people, when they found out, I started talking to people again, and they found out I was ghostwriting. So they're like, hey, would you be able to do this for me? Or I have a friend that needs ghostwriting. So I actually would start, once I did this, I would actually do an outline with the author. I have a very detailed outline that I do. And then I go through and we set up a date, and I make sure that I know the author well enough, or their writing, that I can get their voice from their previous stories. And then I work with them to get it done. It's been nice to have that where I don't need to put myself out there and can just write. I've missed writing my own stories, but it's been a nice break.
Right. Well, it sounds like it really saved you and kept you in the community without having to really put yourself out there. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have an interesting process. I mean, I would think that, like, if you were sending stuff off to a ghostwriter, you would send everything off and they would work with it. But it sounds like it's more collaborative than I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be collaborative. Even when I do, like, so now I do mainly spicy scenes for authors, and I want to get it right. If people don't expect some of the questions I ask, like, what words can I use? I need to know what your character's like. So it seems like a lot of work up front, but then you're getting the story you want without a bunch of editing. And I think that people use me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so coming out of this thing from 2020, first of all, I just want to say, I want to go back just 1 second and say, before you blast someone on social media, how about find out the whole story? Or how about just not doing it? Because there's a real person behind that. And I think that's gotten lost. And I might get in trouble for saying that, but, like, there's just one real good rule in this business, and it's don't be a male genitalia. Don't be a male genitalia. And it just kills me. And when people blast other people that they don't know, that they don't have all the information, go to that person. I mean, we can all DM each other. You can find somebody's email everywhere. Find out. But it sounds like you got kind of caught up in that whole, was it the part of the RWA thing? And then they were going after people that were that had racist things in their books. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but it was all kind of during that same time, wasn't it?
I think it was. I think there was a witch hunt. It sounds terrible because there were some people that were putting.
I mean, there were some legitimate things that were wrong about some of the books, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but this was, I never thought about that, but it was during that time. I think people 2020 were like, hey, let's go after older books. And I've noticed this a lot recently, which is what's brought it to the surface more, is people have been going after others, for events, for other things. Yeah. And I haven't said anything about a lot of things that are out there because of this situation with me. I'm like, I don't know the whole story. I wasn't there. I'm not going to jump on bandwagons.
Yeah. No. And I wasn't involved. Here's another thing. I wasn't involved. So why would I even have an opinion that I want to share online with a million people. That's my philosophy, and that's how I handle my business. But you have started to come back, and part of that is because of the Writers Mojo Dojo Casa House that you've started. And tell us about that. Tell us what it is, who's involved. Well, you don't have to name specifics, but it's for writers.
So it was something where I found out that there were so many other of us who had been published. This is only published authors who haven't been able to write or get their mojo to write again. So I was like, we need a group I just posted it on Facebook and I said, we need a group to cheer each other on. And I didn't realize how many authors that I'd looked up to. I don't know if I want to say names. There's a lot of New York Times bestsellers who had trouble writing. So I started what was called the Mojo Dojo Casa Writers Casa House because Barbie.
Yeah.
And it's nice that we could just talk in there. I try and post a lot in there, and it's very active and it's a very happy place. We could talk about what we're struggling with, and people will even just post things and get recommendations on stuff they're struggling with, like how do you write with a newborn? How do you get your mojo back after something's happened in your family? And nobody's berating each other too. They're like, sometimes you need to give yourself rest. And we have sprinting groups in there. It's just been a very happy place and nice to have that group of hype. I don't think there's any men in it, so I could say hype women.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great because it's sort of, you're giving people what you didn't have. And not that you didn't have it because you didn't seek it out. You retreated, but you're giving people a place to be, to be supported, and help them through this hard time. I'm just wondering why I didn't know about it.
Is it open to everyone? Is it just a group on Facebook?
It's on Facebook, and so we did a vote on it too because we decided that it had to be people that were published before.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between us, people who have never published before and people who have gone through the published. So we all know what it's like to get the book on KDP, to get it written, to get it edited, but we just got to do it again.
Yeah. That's true.
That is great. And it's one of those things that if you have people who are helping you along at that same stage you are, it's very helpful. And it's a good place to get clarity, make sure, run ideas by people, find networking and ideas of things to do things with on social media, stuff like that. That's a great resource.
We talk about writing, and we also, some have been out of the game so long, they're like, okay, what are we using for formatting now? Who are we using for editing? So that's nice to get that marketing part. And then also, we talk about craft. People will say what books we're reading. Because that was a big thing too, is I didn't read for a long time. And that has helped my mojo as well. So we all, we talk about what books we're reading, either craft books or just fiction books, and get recommendations. And it's just been a great, happy place.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad you created that, you found that place, because, people need it. You need it. So yeah. That's awesome.
So anything, like you mentioned craft books, is there anything else that you've noticed that kind of is a common thread of helping people kind of get back into their writing routines and community?
I think it was amazing to see how many just got either burnt out or just had life happen where they, there were some people I haven't realized haven't published in years, and just kind of working up to doing that again. It's not that we don't forget how to do it, but publishing changes so rapid that it is nice to have people that are there to be like, all right, what can I do? And we're not even a group where we're like, oh, we're going to share things. It's just helping you write and get it out there again.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, it is. Well, what's the best thing you've done to set yourself up for success?
Adopt more animals. I think to get back up and keep going again as the best thing, giving myself the grace, saying, I know I'm not going to be perfect. Not everyone's going to like me. But if I can do this and to really enjoy what I'm doing again, currently on submission, which takes forever now. But I love the book I wrote. I can talk about it all the time, which I'd been missing for years, was just loving what I was writing. And I think that has been the best thing, is to be able to love what I'm doing.
Oh, that's fantastic. Love that. Love that. Love that. Well, tell people where they can find out more about you, more about your books, more about your group, all that stuff.
Well, I'm Megan Vernon, or Megan Vernon Books everywhere. My name is actually spelled Magan though, because my mom's Sicilian and thought that's how Megan was spelled. So meganvernon.com. If you want to join the writers Mojo Dojo Casa House, it is a Facebook group, and you just click to join and it asks you a couple questions. And yeah, I like Threads now, and I'm on Instagram a lot because there's a lot of pretty pictures. So I'm Megan Vernon Books there.
Very good. Very good. Well, thanks for being here. This was great. I'm glad you came on.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Yeah, this has been good. We will have all those links in the show notes, and those will be at wishidknownforwriters.com. And if you want to support the podcast, you can go to that same link /support. So thanks for being here, and to Alexa Larberg for editing and producing the podcast, and to Adriel Wiggins for doing the admin. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye. Everybody.
Thanks for joining us today. And remember our sponsor, Xero Accounting Software. Use code WishI'dKnown20 and get 20% off of Xero subscription for 3 months. Thanks for listening. Keep writing, and we'll see you next week.